Jane Houng is a Newnham alumna from the class of 1977 who has dedicated herself to an extraordinary mission to raise awareness about gender-based violence in memory of her daughter, Rebecca Dykes, who was tragically killed while serving as a diplomat in Lebanon. In recognition of Becky's unwavering dedication to humanitarian work, Jane was presented with the Elizabeth emblem by the King last December. Becky's Button is a global initiative prioritising safety over commercialisation and is making a difference in Greece, Lebanon, Jordan and Pakistan, with plans currently to expand further into the UK. Jane also hosts the bi-monthly podcast Mending Lives, where those who have experienced profound loss share their journeys of healing and resilience. She's also involved in the Rebecca Dykes Writers Project and Becky's Bathhouse, continuing to create meaningful change in her daughter's memory. Please join me in welcoming Jane to talk about how her dedication to achieving equality through raising awareness of violence against women and girls has shaped her life.
Thank you very much, Erin. Davina, I'm joyful to be here with you today, surrounded by young minds, full of potential, full of hope, full of the power to shape the future. I'm Jane Houng, and I'm the founder of a charity called Becky's Button. And I should preface what I'm going to say by giving a trigger warning. And also, I should tell you that when I refer to women and men in a binary way, it's shorthand, please, for all women identifying and men identifying individuals. And I stand here before you as a bereaved mother who, yes, lost a daughter to femicide. And the main purpose of Becky's Button is to raise awareness about gender-based violence in the broadest sense of the word. Rebecca Dykes, Becky, was an exemplary young woman, energetic, compassionate and truly devoted to making the world a better place. In 2017, as a project manager at the British Embassy in Lebanon, she worked on humanitarian projects for underprivileged locals and refugees. Her life was cruelly cut short by a local taxi driver who raped and strangled her. In the context of this being triggering, I do have a few quick comments. They're very personal. Her death could have destroyed me, but instead, I've shown the path of radical forgiveness. Everyone experiences the loss of something significant sometime in their lives. And trauma, I believe, is a natural human response. And it can traumatize or it can transform. We do have a choice. I believe it's not what happens to you, but how you get through it. So I strive to be a survivor, and I'm honouring Becky by following her lead to serve those less fortunate than myself. So Becky's Button was born out of my pain and suffering. It's a simple panic alarm which could have saved her life. I give it to women who are particularly vulnerable or can't afford one. But I do encourage every woman to carry something similar. It's a simple preventative device that can stop violence before it happens. To date, my team and I distributed 7,000 of them for free to women in Greece, Lebanon, Jordan, Pakistan and the UK. Yeah, we've started in the UK now, we've been very busy. We've raised awareness about GBV through 30 workshops and with the help of around 20 student volunteers. With more financial support, we plan to accelerate our action and scale up. Our mission is simple and focuses on tangible action. We work with both sexes. GBV is not just a women's issue, it's a human one. We educate men as well as women, creating allies, not adversaries. We address online sexual harassment. The digital world, especially AI, has increased harm, making education and intervention more urgent than ever. And we believe prevention matters. While education, laws and policing play a crucial role in reducing GBV, prevention can too. Providing women with personal safety alarms is one example of an immediate, practical solution that could reduce incidents and maybe even save lives. We began by raising awareness about GBV and donating Becky's buttons to only disadvantaged women. And we plan to continue doing that. But we increasingly focus on youth engagement, spreading our message in universities and secondary schools, because I believe many people like you are the key to transforming societal attitudes for your generation. Breaking the cycle of such a systemic human issue as violence takes generations, and I've adopted a long-term view. Reading about the great pioneers of women's rights from our esteemed college inspires me to accept that significant change comes with a struggle. And I truly want people to enjoy living in a safer world in the future. My life experience, or should I say death experience, colours my feelings about International Women's Day. The day celebrates the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women, of course. And yes, we should applaud women's achievements, but also acknowledge a harsh reality. Patriarchy, capitalism, sexism, racism, discrimination, oppression, they all still exist. And gender-based violence remains rampant all over the world. In the UK, despite decades of activism, education, legal and policy changes, the most recent report of the National Police Chiefs Council describes GBV as a national emergency. So on International Women's Day, feminists like us speak out. When I was a woman student, it was the second wave. And I remember devouring Germaine Greer, Simone de Beauvoir, Erika Jong, and we challenged gender roles, questioned the structure of our society, experimented with our sexuality, demanded radical change. But there wasn't much change, and frankly the third wave was in response to the failures of the second, and it largely passed me by as I struggled with juggling marriage, raising a family, and my career. So we're now surfing the fourth wave, where feminism is not only about women's rights, but also about empowering them through the concept of intersectionality. Thus, they're trying to ensure that no one, no matter their ethnicity, religion, or education, is left behind. These aims are especially relevant in developing countries, and as a privileged woman from a first world country, it's my dearest wish to empower my less fortunate sisters. Because in almost all countries, feminism still operates under the paradigms of patriarchy, capitalist systems, and romantic love. And I repeat, violence against women is everywhere. So it really is an opportune time to ask ourselves, what can we do to break the cycle of violence? If we're to truly move forward, I believe we need a broader, more inclusive approach. I believe one reason why we've made so little progress is that women often overlook men. It's mostly men who still hold the power in patriarchal, capitalist and consumerist societies. But many nowadays are struggling with a socially constructed identity that no longer fits the modern world. And the reality is that men need women as much as women need men, especially in times of war, natural disasters, climate-related calamities, and threats to our personal safety. Protection is imprinted into men's DNA. Would you agree? Only one man here, well. And if we want to reduce GBV, we must all engage in the conversation. We all need to redefine masculinity, dismantle the harmful social structures that shape it, break free from outdated gender roles, and build partnerships instead of divisions. Only then can we make real progress together. The theme of this year's Women's Day is accelerating action. In terms of GBV, to me, That means accelerating social transformation. In Roman Krasnarik's latest book, History for Tomorrow, Inspiration from the Past for the Future of Humanity, the author purports that in history, radical social transformations have happened at the quickest in 3 situations: war, disaster, revolution. In other words, when there's a clear enemy to defeat. Thinking about that gave me insight into why the social transformation needed to reduce violence against women is so challenging, and I welcome any ideas on that. Anyway, Krasnarik states that social movements can accelerate social transformation, and I quote, "They typically do this through amplifying crises that may be quietly simmering under the surface or are ignored by dominant actors in society." Using what he calls a disruption nexus model, Krasnarik claims that the kind of social movements that inspire radical transformations require 3 elements. Firstly, disrupt the status quo by challenging old ways of thinking. 2, engage communities by bringing people together to push for change. 3, spread new ideas, because innovation is at the heart of every social transformation. But he acknowledges that social movements are not enough by themselves. Radical social transformations can only occur when the movements are disruptive, and there's a crisis, and there are vision and new ideas that are permeating society. So this is why I hope Becky's Button will become more than just a charity. I want it to challenge and reshape the narrative around gender-based violence. But to that end, I have 2 questions. Firstly, to those who identify as women in this audience. What are you doing to protect yourself against gender-based violence? I give Becky's Button to people who can't afford to buy one, but I guess all of you could afford something similar. There are many for sale on the internet. And if you are a survivor of GBV, could you be more courageous? Put aside your shame if you've been abused. Speak out more. Women are stereotyped as passive, but we can also be warriors. GBV is an issue which could affect you one day. And frankly, in this time of polycrises, the more female warriors who devote their energies to solving the problems that imperil our whole civilization, the better chance Homo sapiens isn't doomed. My second question is directed to those who identify as men. Or maybe you can think about your brother or your boyfriend. I ask you, how would you feel if Becky had been your sister, your girlfriend, your spouse, your daughter? It would hurt, right? And at the time of Becky's murder, her male friends were irate. I believe some of them would have tried to kill her killer if he'd been at her funeral, for example. But that's not the way. Violence breeds violence, and it wouldn't have brought Becky back or solved the root problem of violence against women. So Becky's Button's call to men is not to be bystanders, especially if you see some of your friends behaving badly or a woman in distress. And you could also ask yourself, what can I do to build mutual respect in my community to make it safer for the females I love? Some of you have noticed that I'm wearing green. One of the colours of International Women's Day, and the colour that symbolises hope. The Australian pop star Nick Cage's definition of hope really resonates with me. Hope is optimism with a broken heart. That's because hope has an earned understanding of the sorrowful or corrupted nature of things, yet rises to attend to the world even so. I really hope fewer women suffer my daughter's fate in my lifetime. And I hope that channeling my grief into accelerated action against GBV will speak louder than words. Because after all, hasn't enough been said? All those seminars, conferences, percentages, reports. And don't we all basically want to live in a peaceful home with a loving family? So it's time to break the cycle of violence against women by action. If you want to help me or my team, please follow Becky's Button Instagram and encourage your friends to do so. Collaborate and share. Maybe you'd like to volunteer for Becky's Button. I love working with young people. Could you do more here in Newnham? Please let me know any ideas you have and I'll try my best to make it happen. Because changes that break cycles demand bold steps, new ideas and a collective force to break them once and for all. So I urge you to consider joining the fight and become someone who also believes in taking accelerated action to create a safer world for our future generations. Thank you.